Have you ever wondered why we make certain decisions even when they don't always make sense? Or why some people seem to have an uncanny ability to persuade others? We're diving into the fascinating world of cognitive bias, the hidden puppet master pulling the strings of our minds. What you're about to learn might just change how you see the world and yourself. Imagine your brain as a supercomputer, processing millions of bits of information every second. To handle this flood of data, it creates shortcuts, mental rules of thumb that help us make quick decisions. These shortcuts are what we call cognitive biases. Cognitive bias is a systematic error in thinking that affects our judgments and decisions. It's like wearing a pair of tinted glasses that color everything we see. The catch? Everyone's wearing these glasses all the time, and most of us don't even realize it. Now you might be thinking, not me, I'm rational and objective. Well, I hate to break it to you, but cognitive bias is universal. It doesn't matter how smart, educated, or self-aware we are. Research indicates that intelligent individuals may be more susceptible to cognitive biases. Despite having more knowledge, they can exhibit overconfidence and better rationalize their beliefs, even when faced with contradictory evidence. This suggests that intelligence does not shield against biases. It may even reinforce them. These biases are hardwired into our brains through evolution. They've helped our species survive, but in our modern world, they can sometimes lead us astray. So how can we spot these sneaky biases? Here are a few red flags. You find yourself agreeing with information that confirms what you already believe. You remember failures more vividly than successes. You assume others think the same way you do. You make decisions based on the first piece of information you receive. You judge others more harshly for mistakes you've made yourself. Sound familiar? Don't worry, you're not alone. The first step in managing cognitive bias is recognizing it exists. It's like trying to spot a chameleon. Tricky, but not impossible once you know what to look for. I'll begin by sharing a story about a topic of universal interest, electric vehicles, to more clearly illustrate how cognitive biases work, helping us spot them in other areas of our lives. My friend Alex was considering buying an electric car to reduce her carbon footprint. However, she was hesitant due to concerns about the environmental impact of battery sourcing, manufacturing, and disposal. I've read that the production of these batteries is really harmful to the environment, she told Sam, the EV salesperson. And what happens when they don't work anymore? Isn't that just creating more waste? Sam, being savvy, didn't directly address Alex's valid concerns. Instead, she shifted the conversation to the car's advanced recycling program. Did you know our company has partnered with a cutting-edge battery recycling facility, she asked, showing Alex a slick video about their circular economy initiatives. Suddenly, Alex wasn't thinking about the initial environmental cost anymore. She was imagining herself as part of a sustainable future. Sam had skillfully used the framing effect, presenting the same issue, in this case environmental impact, in a different light. But Sam wasn't done. She mentioned that incentives for this model were ending soon, and there were only 2 cars left with the current rebate. This triggered Alex's scarcity bias, our tendency to value things more when they're perceived as limited. By the end of the day, Alex drove home in a new electric car, feeling good about her eco-friendly choice, but wondering how she'd so quickly moved past her initial concerns. Now I want to pause here and make an important point. In my experience, I've never met anyone who doesn't care about our planet. However, those who ask valid questions like Alex did about battery disposal, raw material sourcing, or the origin of the electricity that powers these cars are often dismissed or labeled as anti-environment. This is another form of cognitive bias at work. We tend to oversimplify complex issues into for and against camps, missing the nuanced middle ground where real solutions often lie. To be clear, I'm not suggesting that electric cars don't have their merits. They certainly do. However, it is important to consider that these things aren't black and white or always rosy. There are considerations and compromises we make with our decisions, and we need to be aware of what they are. We shouldn't let our biases sway us into overlooking important factors or dismissing valid concerns. Alex's story isn't unique. Marketers, influencers, and leaders use our cognitive biases in environmental messaging often. They might use the bandwagon effect, our tendency to do things because many other people do the same, to make us think everyone's on board and we should be too. Or they'll use the anchoring bias by comparing the cost of their eco-friendly product to an unrealistic, expensive alternative. Environmental leaders might use the halo effect, where our overall positive impression of their green initiatives influences how we perceive all their actions, even those unrelated to sustainability, such as having a high carbon footprint themselves. Even media plays on our biases, using alarming climate headlines to trigger our negativity bias, our tendency to pay more attention to bad news than good. This can either motivate action or lead to eco-anxiety and inaction, depending on how it's framed. So what can we do? While we can't eliminate our biases completely, we can develop a habit of questioning our thoughts and decisions. Here's your challenge. When you encounter a piece of information or make a decision, pause and ask yourself these questions. Is this really what I think, or am I being influenced by hidden biases? What evidence am I using to support this view? Am I dismissing alternative perspectives without fair consideration? Make this a daily habit. Whether it's reading a news article, scrolling through social media, or making a purchase, use your newfound knowledge to determine if cognitive bias is at play. Remember, cognitive biases aren't all bad. They help us navigate a complex world. But by understanding and questioning them, we can make more informed choices and be less susceptible to manipulation. I hope this peek behind the curtain of your mind has been eye-opening. Share this video and challenge with someone you know. After all, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to understanding our own minds. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay mindful.